Hey friends, what's going on? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Yud Tes of Masechta Berachos. We start off on the first Amud really with more of like some kind of Agadata kind of stuff that we're familiar to with that vibe already, somewhat loosely related to death and mace and onain and avel and stuff. Included in this Agadata is some super cool stuff, Choni HaMe'agel, which we'll get to, Tanur Shel Achnai, some really famous, cool Agadatas. We're not the complete versions, but references to them. We're going to then get back into our Mishnah, talk about some halachos about Kriyat Shema and burial and things like that. And then the second Amud is really going to focus on a very interesting discussion about when can concern for other people, for kavod habrios, for honoring other people, can it override mitzvahs, or can you even violate mitzvahs in the Torah in the interest of giving honor to other people? So that is what's in store for today, and let's get started, buddies. All right, 3 lines from the top of Yud Tes Amud Aleph. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak Hamasaper Achrei Hames Ki'ilu Misaper Achrei Ha'even. Oh, anybody who speaks negatively about a dead person, about a mace, it's as if he is speaking negatively about a stone, i.e. it has no effect. There are those who say it's because they don't know. They're dead. They don't know anything. They don't know what you said about them. There are those who say, no, they know, but it doesn't matter to them. Okay? Maybe that could also tie back into like our discussion yesterday about what exactly do Mason know about what's going on in this world. Okay? Ini, is this really so? But one second, didn't Rav Papa say that there was somebody who once spoke negatively about Shmuel after he died, and guess what happened? A reed fell down from a roof and pierced his cranium, and I guess his brain as well, and we don't know what happened to that guy, but probably nothing good. So Shani Tzur Me'abanan de Kuchibrichu Tavi Bikari. Oh, don't bring a proof from there, because it's different when it comes to Talmidei Chachamim, right? Literally, Tzur Me'abanan means like young yeshiva students, and again referencing back to that chapter from Rav Steinsaltz that Yisrael posted in the WhatsApp group. There were these young Talmidei Chacham. Many of the people in the Gemara who we recognize were like kind of young people sent off by their parents to learn. But Shmuel was Shmuel, right? I think he's a young Talmid Chacham. But anyways, it's different when it comes to Talmidei Chacham, because it's not because what happened there with that reed wasn't because Shmuel knew what he said. It's because the Hashem knew what this guy said, and Hashem made sure that I guess give this person what he deserved. Okay, fine. Says Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. Anybody? Okay, so over here you have to define mitasan, not like referring to like their coffin, but as the Masoras Hashas actually explains, you should probably have a little aleph after the word mitasan. That actually over here it has to do with like lihatot, to like lean. So anybody basically doesn't go in the ways of the Chacham, they kind of go off the derech, so to speak. So they go to hell. Oy vey. Shenemar v'amatim kalkalosam. That meaning, so anybody who goes sort of the wrong way. Does Rashi say anything about amatim? Yeah, exactly. If you look at Rashi on the second line of Rashi, v'amatim kalkalosam le'el mineksiv, the previous pasuk there is heitiva Hashem latovim, right? That God does good to those who are good, and then it says v'amatim kalkalosam back in the Gemara, the first wide line. But those who go sort of in crooked ways, yolichem Hashem es po'alei ha'aven shalom ha'Yisrael, then God will basically guide them in the way of the evildoers, and then there will be peace upon Israel. So afilu b'shah sheshalom ha'Yisrael yolichem Hashem es po'alei ha'aven. Even in the time where there is peace among Israel, God will still treat these people who go on a crooked path like those who do bad stuff. Okay, yikes. Fine. Tana de Rabbi Shmuel, who's taught in the Besmedrish of Rabbi Shmuel, that if you saw Talmid Chacham do an avera at night, al tahar achrav bayom, shem asa tshuva. So then if you see him the next day, don't think that like, oh yeah, this guy did something terrible last night. You can assume, well, maybe he already did tshuva, so, don't like judge him negatively. All right. What do you mean maybe he did tshuva? Of course he did tshuva. Now, when we say that, this Talmid Chacham who did Avera, he definitely did tshuva, that's great, and it works for things begufa. I assume that's probably like a way of essentially saying like, ben adam lamakom. If he did like an Avera, so he could do tshuva. But, if he stole from somebody, he stole $1,000, so, you can't just do tshuva for that. The tshuva for that is giving back the $1,000 that you stole, or whatever it might be. So, things that you could, simply just saying sorry works, so saying sorry will work. But, if there's actual damage that needs to be replaced, so then just saying sorry won't work. You have to also replace the damage. Okay, fine. Very good. Vam Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi. And now it says Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi. There are 24 instances where we know that Bezdin actually excommunicated somebody because they showed disrespect to the rabbis. Now, excommunication is a pretty big deal, right? It means like nobody can even go within 4 feet of you. Nobody can talk to you. Nobody can do anything. You don't get buried like in the cemetery. Like, it's a really big deal. Okay, and we have 24 instances where the where the Chachamim, and all of them are in our Mishnayos, right? There are 24 instances in our Mishnahs, and this Mishnah thing is going to be relevant later on. Amalei Rabbi Lazar, Heicha. So Rabbi Lazar said to Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi, oh, okay, that sounds interesting. Where are these 24 instances? Amalei Lechi Tishkach. So, kind of a funny answer. Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi says, I don't know, you go find them and tell me. So Nafagdak, so Rabbi Lazar was obediently went and he checked. Ve'ashkach plus, and he came up with three things that you can argue would fit this criteria of people being excommunicated because they disrespected rabbis. So Hamazalzal Netilas Yadayim, somebody, right? One instance was somebody who belittled Netilas Yadayim, washing our hands. I don't know if it's like in the morning or before bread. I'm not sure actually. Maybe both. And somebody who speaks negatively after a Talmid Chacham once he has died. And somebody who shows sort of disrespect towards God. Okay. So what was the instance in the Mishnayos where we saw that there was somebody who spoke negatively after Talmidei Chachamim? So it's not, as we learn in the Mishnah, Hu Aya Omer, he would say, in Mashkin loas hagiyores veloasamishucheres, that we don't. So Mashkin over here is referring to mei sota, right? Right. We mentioned a sota a few days ago. Right. A sota is a situation where a man warns his wife not to be secluded with a certain other man, and there are witnesses who testify that she did in fact seclude herself another time after the warning with this other man. Then they create this whole drink that she drinks, with basically checks her to see if she had a relationship or not, and if she did, she dies. If not, then she lives and she gets all sorts of blessings. So now we say that we don't give this drink to a convert, okay? So not a slave that was freed, as we mentioned also a few days ago, that non-Jewish slaves, when they get freed, they become Jews, right? So we don't give this drink to a giores, to a convert, or a freed maidservant. And the Chacham say, no, we do give the sota drink to a giores and a mishucheres. And they even responded to the Tanakama. There was a story about Charkamis, a freed maidservant in Yerushalayim, and Shmaya and Avtalion, who were from some of the Zugos, right at the beginning of Pirkei Avos, it talks about sort of the progression of how the Torah went from Moshe until where we have it today, and there was basically 5 groups of pairs. One of the groups of pairs, maybe even been number 2, but I can't remember, were Shmaya and Avtalion. Okay, and they actually did serve this drink to this freed maidservant. The Amar Loem Dugma Hishkua, and he said to them, now this was Akavi b'Malala. Where does it say Akavi b'Malala? Because doesn't have this in the oh, I see. Yeah, it's not in the Gemara. Rashi says, Huaya Omer Akavi b'ma'alalel v'mesechta edios. So this Huaya Omer, this Tanakama, who said that we don't give to drink, that was Akavi b'ma'alalel. And the Chacham respond to him and say, what do you mean? But Shmaya and Avtalion gave this Shifcha Meshucheres, this sota water, and he said to them, V'marlem Dugma Yishkua. Yeah, of course Shmaya and Avtalion would have given sota water to this Eved Meshucheres. They themselves, look at them, they're converts, right? It says in the Gemara and Gittin that they were descendants of Sancheiriv. So it says that either they were converts or they maybe came from converts, but the point, I think that they were converts, I think. So because they were converts, that is why they gave her sota water, because it's similar to their own status, right? And that was sort of like a negative thing to say about Shmaya and Avtalion. V'nidu umeis b'niduyo. And they excommunicated Akavi ben Malalel, and he died in his excommunication. V'saklu Bezdin es Arono, and Bezdin then stoned his coffin. That's pretty bad. And it's also a pretty intense thing to say about Akavi ben Malalel, right? A very famous Mishnah at the beginning of the third parak of Pirkei Avos, right? It says, right? That's something that we say, I think, at funerals, at least in Jerusalem, I think, right? Like this is he was a pretty big deal. And to say that he, died in excommunication, they stoned his coffin, wow, pretty intense. And we're going to see that there was actually a different version that says that wasn't actually a Akavi ben Malalo. But anyways, that is the story where they excommunicated somebody because of kavod of the Rav, that he didn't show respect to Shmaya and Avtalion. What is the example of somebody who belittled Netilas Yadayim? Titnan Amar Reb Yehuda, said Reb Yehuda, Chaz v'shalom she'akavi b'malalo nisnada. God forbid that Akavi b'malalo was put into excommunication. Shein azarin in elis al kol adam b'yisrael b'chachmu v'tayru v'yarschet k'akavi b'malalo. Right? When they would bring the korban Pesach in Yerushalayim, basically they would bring it in three groups, and everyone would stuff into the azara in the Beis Hamikdash, and mamish, you couldn't move. It was so packed. And even then, when there were so many people packed in the Beis Hamikdash, there was one person who stood out for being, greater than everybody else in wisdom, in purity, and in fear of sin, and that was Akavi ben Malalo. There's no chance that he disrespected Shmaya and Avtalion and died in excommunication. Ella, rather, as Minidu, who did they excommunicate? As Elazar ben Chanoch. They excommunicated this fellow named Elazar ben Chanoch, shepikpek b'netilas yadayim, that he belittled Netilas Yadayim. And Netilas Yadayim, of course, is an institution of the rabbis. So by belittling Netilas Yadayim, you're belittling the rabbis. Uchshemes, and when he died, Shalchu Bezdin ve'nichu even nidol al arono. Bezdin sent, and they put a large stone on his coffin. L'lamedcha, to teach you, shkal mesnade umes b'niduyo, that anybody who's excommunicated and dies in that excommunication, Bezdin soklin es arono, Bezdin stones his coffin. Wow. Hamagas daito klape maila. And what's the example of somebody who showed disrespect to God? So Mayi, what's that? Titnan shalach lo Shimon ben Shatach lechonei me'agel. Oh, Shimon ben Shatach sent to Chonei me'agel. Tzarich lisnados, you really do need to get excommunicated. The ilmele choni ata, if not for the fact that you are the great choni, gozrani alecha nidui, I would decree upon you an excommunication. But what will I do that you sin before God, and God does what you want him to do? What can I do? Like a son who sins before his father, and the father nonetheless does what the child wants. And upon you, the pasuk says, that your father and mother will be happy, and the person who birthed you will rejoice. Okay, I just read a lot about Chonei Ma'agel. Who was Chonei Ma'agel, and what are we talking about over here? There is I believe it comes up in the Mishnayos and Tainus. Basically, there was a time when there was no rain in Jerusalem, and basically Chonei Ma'agel, he's called Choni, the circle maker, because that's exactly what he did. He drew a circle in the earth, and he stood in that circle, and he said to God, I'm not leaving the circle until you bring rain. So first God brought like a drizzle, and God Choni Ma'agel said, excuse me, that is not what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for a drizzle. I'm looking for rain. And then the Eibishter brought like mamash a storm, and he said, excuse me, I didn't ask for a hurricane over here. So then the Eibishter brought regular rain, and it mamish rained and rained and rained and rained. And then they came to him. I think they said, "Okay, Choni, we appreciate it, but this is a little bit too much rain." He said, "No, this is healthy rain. Sure, it might be too much, but you don't pray for healthy rain to stop coming." Anyways, so Shimon ben Shattach then said to Choni HaMa'agel, says, "Really, we should be excommunicating you because you were pretty chutzpahdik over there towards God. But what can I do that you're chutzpahdik to God, and yet He still does what you want to do." So we see over there that that was an instance where they didn't actually excommunicate Choni HaMa'agel, but they thought to do so. So those are the three. Cases that Rabbi Elazar was able to find of excommunication in the Mishnah. Okay, and they only really excommunicated them in one case by Elazar ben Chanoch. Okay, V'suleka, there's no other instances of excommunication in the Mishnah, just these three. V'ayika, the Tani of Yosef, right? What about what Rav Yosef taught? Tudus ish Romi. Oh, Tudus, the man of Rome, which is interesting. Apparently, he was a very influential Roman Jew. Now, I guess already back then there was a community in Rome, which is interesting. Meaning, I guess the Romans were already in Israel, that's for sure, because they destroyed the Second Temple, and this is after the Second Temple. Anyways, so, and he was already in Rome, I guess. So I guess already during that time, I guess like the Roman community is like 2,000 years old, I guess already. Wow. Anyways, so Tudus ish Romi hining as bnei Romi le ha'achilan gedim mikulasim b'leile psachim. So Tudus ish Romi, in Rome, he would have the people actually, essentially do like the Korban Pesach, meaning they wouldn't necessarily, do the whole sacrifice and stuff, but they would, take a goat and they would, roast it on a skewer in the same exact way that you'd basically prepare the Korban Pesach. They would prepare this goat. Okay, so Shalach le Shimon ben Shattach. Shimon ben Shattach said to them, he sent to Tudus ish Romi. He said, "Ilmle Tudus ata." If not for the fact that you were Tudus, Kozvani alecha nidoi, I would decree against you an excommunication. Because you're basically, here, I actually have a little note here which changed it to kachim sagadatech ela ema kimin kachim. That basically you are feeding something similar to kachim outside of the Beis Hamikdash. Now we said so the Chacham said that we don't do that we don't eat. I think we don't even eat roasted meat on the Seder night, because we don't want anybody to mistakenly mistake the meat that we're eating with the Korban, and think that it's in the place of the Korban Pesach. So basically, Shimon ben Shattach said, "Look, you're violating what the Chachamim said, and therefore, really, I should excommunicate you. But you are Tudus, so you're a very great man, an influential man. So I'm not going to excommunicate you." Okay. As I mentioned earlier, right? Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi said that there are 24 instances in our Mishnayos. That was a brisa. Okay, very good. Okay, but there are no other instances in Mishnayos. But what about this Mishnah? What about this Mishnah in? What about the Mishnah about the Tanur Shelachnai? What was the Tanur Shelachnai? Okay, it's a really famous story. I imagine many people here have heard it. It's basically a story where there was this oven. Now, the way that they had ovens back then is that it was almost like a cone. If you can imagine like a cone, and then you would like cut off, slice off like the top part by the tip area. You would like cut that off, and then so you can imagine like a cone with like sort of an opening on the top. Now that was like a stove that you could take, put fire inside and then take a pot and put on top of it. It was also an oven that you would basically, heat up, get it really hot, and you could like slap bread on it and stuff. Now that oven was made out of clay. Now let's say it became tameh. So when it comes to clay, to earthenware, there's no way to retire it. You don't just put it in a mikveh. It doesn't work. The only way to get rid of the impurities is to actually break it, okay, and make it unusable. So let's say you had this oven and it was tameh. So you basically slice it into rings. You slice it into, you slice rings of it. Now, you have a bunch of rings, right? That's how you slice into 10 rings. So you have 10 rings. You don't have an oven. You can't cook in that. But so then it would be tahor. It would be tahor. Look, it's not usable as an oven anymore. So it's not a kli. In order for something to become to be tameh, it has to be a kli. It has to be usable. This isn't usable. It's a bunch of rings. So it's no longer tameh. Now everyone agrees that if you would then reconstruct it and take these rings and rebuild it, put it back in like a furnace and mamish make it back into a kli, so then it would retain its status because you never really broke it, because you just it was able to be reconstructed. However, what if you didn't go through the whole furnace process of like mamish making it into a kli again? Rather, you just like took some like cement and you connected the rings with cement, which isn't, if it doesn't officially make it a kli cheres. It makes it, taking a bunch of pieces and stacking them up, but it's not really a kli. So Rabbi Eliezer says, yeah, you basically just took a bunch of pieces and stacked them onto each other. You're not making a kli. So it's just like when they're in their pieces, they're tahor. So even when you stack them on top of each other and put a little bit of cement in between, it's still a bunch of pieces. And just like those pieces are tahor when they're not connected, they're also tahor when you connect them in this way. Whereas the Chacham say, no, who are we kidding? You basically made a usable oven out of these things, even though you didn't use the regular furnace method. So it's going to be tameh again. So that is the idea over here. And Rabbi Eliezer, I think, even says that it's impossible for it to ever even become tameh again because you didn't make it into a proper kli. You basically just took pieces and stacked them on top of each other. So it's not even a kli at all to be able to become tameh. So I believe that that's a correct understanding of that machlokus over there. But the important part for us is that Ditnan, as we learned in the Mishnah, chatcho chulios v'nasan chol ben chulia lechulia. So if you took this tameh oven, you then cut it into rings, and then you put cement in between these rings, and that's how you reconstructed it. Rabbi Eliezer matar. Rabbi Eliezer says, look, this isn't a kli, right? This isn't a kli. You didn't make it properly. There's a way to make a kli, and you didn't make it in that way. So therefore, it's tahor, and it will never be considered a kli. And since it will never be considered a kli, it will never ever contract tumah. And the Chachamim say it's taka tameh, that the kli is taka tameh. V'zeu tanuro shel achnai. This is the oven of achnai. My achnai. What's an achnai? Achnai is a serpent. Amar of Yehuda, Amar Shmuel, Melamed shekifua halachos ke'achnai zeh v'tim'u. Right, that they surrounded it with halachos. That many halachos came out of this machlokas, just like a snake goes in a circle, and they made this oven tameh. Fine. Now, the continuation of that story, which is not here in the Gemara in Berachos, is that basically Rabbi Eliezer said, look, if I'm right, then the trees should say that I'm right. If I'm right, ultimately, I said, then a voice should come out of heaven and say I'm right. And sure enough, a voice came out of heaven and said, Rabbi Eliezer is right. However, the fact of the matter is that we don't listen to baskals. We don't decide halacha based on a baskal. We decide halacha based on whatever the Chachamim said, right? We say, lo b'shamayim, right? The halacha isn't in the heavens. So if the Chachamim said that it's tameh, and that is that. And it's also similar to like that story with Rabbi Tarfon, that they said, yeah, you deserve to endanger yourself by lying down to say like Beis Shammai, because we decided that the halacha is like Beis Hillel, and that's what's important. It's not important, who's right and who's wrong. If the consensus is, if the Chachamim said that this is the halacha that we do, this is the halacha that we do, and that's that. And because of this, because Rabbi Eliezer refused to accept the ruling of the Chachamim, right? So Vitanya also Ayom Eviu Kol Taros of Shatir Rabbi Eliezer. So that day they brought all of the taros, any truma or anything that was made in that oven, right? That Rabbi Eliezer said it's tahor, v'sarfum lefanav, and they burned it in front of him. L'basof berchuhu, and then they cursed him. And in the sof that in the end they cursed him, i.e. they excommunicated him, and he mamish was excommunicated for the rest of his life. He died in excommunication. Rabbi Eliezer ben Horkanus, the great Rabbi Eliezer ben Horkanus, was excommunicated, and it never was let up. The Gemara in Sanhedrin talks about that after he died, the Chachamim actually released his excommunication so that they could bury him in a regular cemetery. But yeah, that's a crazy story of Rabbi Eliezer. Anyways, the Gemara says, yeah, but that's not going to cut it. It's not going to fit Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi's criteria. The actual excommunication part was only in a brisa. The Mishnah just talks about this oven, if it's tamei or tahor. So still, Rabbi Shua ben Levi said that there are 24 instances of this excommunication. We only brought 3 instances. So Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, medama milsa lemilsa, Rabbi Elazar lo medama milsa lemilsa, period. So Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, he kind of brings similar things. So basically, anywhere in a Mishnah where you have a situation of one person sort of refusing to accept the position of many, or maybe being disrespectful to somebody greater than him. So Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi would say, well, just like let's say by Elazar, what was his name? Elazar ben Chanoch, that he was disrespectful and they excommunicated him. So he basically has 24 similar instances that he just says, well, in that case it's as if they excommunicated him. Rabbi Elazar didn't have that, and therefore he was only able to find instances where they actually mention excommunication, and those were the three that he found. Cool. Okay. The Mishnah then says, Nosi amita v'chilufein. Those who are carrying the coffin and those who switch them. Okay. Tanar Banan in Motziin Esameis Samuch l'Kriyashma. Okay, so we don't bring out a dead body to burial close to Kriyashma, because then how are people going to read Kriyashma? But if they started reading, taking out the mace already, it was close to Kriyashma, so we don't stop. Ini, is that really true? But Rav Yosef they took him out close to Kriyashma, so Adam Chashuv Shiny. So we say no, it's different when you're an Adam Chashuv like Rav Yosef. Then we're not we're more concerned about the levaya rather than if it's man Kriyashma or not. Okay. Right? I talked about those people who had not yet carried the mita, so they're part from Kriyashma. Those people who already carried the mita, they're chayev. Tanar Banan ha'oskim behesped, people who are at a eulogy, at a funeral essentially. So if the mace, if the mace is in front of them in the same room, so nishmatan echad v'korin. So they slip out of the room one at a time. They read Kriyashma. What about osik ben mitzvah, patum ben mitzvah? I guess that this part, just the eulogy, isn't necessarily. It's not like the levaya part. It's not escorting the mace. I guess so. It's not necessarily osik ben mitzvah, patum ben mitzvah. I guess so. They slip out one by one and read Kriyashma, so as not to read Kriyashma in front of the mace. Eina mace mutal lefneim. If the mace is not mamish in front of them, so ein yoshvim v'kor, so hein yoshvim v'korin, v'u yoshev v'domim. So basically, what they do is they'll stop and they'll say Kriyashma. I assume that's what happens. Well, they sit there. Everyone will sit there and just read Kriyashma. They don't have to leave. And the Avel, or the Onen, really will sit there quietly. Him omdim umispalin. They get up and they daven Shmona Esrei. V'u omed umatztegal v'sadin. And he gets up and sort of accepts upon himself, what has happened and is lost. V'omer, and he says, Ribono Olam, Master of the world, Harbe chatasi lefanecha. I have sinned a lot before you, Hashem. And you haven't even, exacted punishment from me, even for 1/1000th of what I've done. May it be the will before you, Hashem our God, that you should, fix the breaches in our gates, and all the breaches in your nation, Israel, in mercy. Abai says it's not good for a person to say like this. What's like this? To mention the fact, to God, that you haven't even punished me for 1/1000th of all the things that I've done. It's basically inviting God to say, okay, I forgot. Let me punish you 1,000 times. Right? So the Amr Reb Shimon ben Lakish, v'chein tana mishmei Reb Yossi, le'olam al yiftach adam piv l'satan. A person should never open his mouth to the satan. Right? Meaning, this guy's saying, I haven't been even punished for 1/1000th of what I've done. Now, of course, the Satan is now, in the next second going to run over to God and be like, by the way, God, you haven't punished this guy. You need to punish this guy. V'amar of Yosef, and said of Yosef, Mikra'ah, where do we even have a pasuk for this? Shenemar, as the pasuk says, Kimat kistom ayinu, right? The pasuk says in Yeshaya, one pasuk says that we were, we were almost like stone where they were entirely wiped out. So, Maya Hadar Lunavi, and then what does the Navi say in Mamish, the very next pasuk? Shimu Dvar Hashem K'tzine Stom. Listen to the word of God, you officers of Stom. So we mentioned how we were almost like Stom, and then the next thing you know, we're calling, the Navi's calling them the officers of Stom. Kavros HaMeis V'Chazru, if they already buried the mace and now they're going back to the Shura, and we said if they have enough time to read Kriyat Shema, they should read it, if not, not. What, so only if they could read the entire Kriyat Shema, all three parshos, then they read Kriyat Shema before going to the Shura. But if they can only, let's say Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, or less than the whole thing, then they don't say it. V'raminu, we have a contradiction. If they already buried the mace and they're going back to the Shura, Im yichol lahascha v'ligmor afilu perek echad or pasuk echad hachinami perek echad pasuk echad, right? So no, we have a brayso that says that if they're going to the shura and they can only chap arayin, for Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, and that's it. That's fine. So then they should just say that. So Achinami Kamar, yeah, that's exactly what it's saying. No, it's saying the same exact thing in our Mishnah, that they already buried the mace and now they're going to the shura. If they can even just say one pasuk, say that pasuk, it's fine. If they can't even say one pasuk, then don't even say that pasuk. Whatever there's time to say. Fine. So we say whoever is standing in the shura, whoever's on the inside of the line. I guess like if there were like two rows, there were a lot of people that say there were two rows on either side. So the ones on the inside would read Kriyat Shema, would be patur from Kriyat Shema. The ones on the outside would read Kriyat Shema. So the Gemara says, Tanya Rabbanan, shura haroa pnima ptura v'shena haroa pnima chayeves. So any body there who is able to see inside and able to, even if they're on the second row, but if they could see inside to where the avelim are, so then they would also be patur from Kriyat Shema. But if they can't see inside, then they would be chayiv. Rabbi Yehuda Omer says, Rabbi Yehuda, Habai mechamas ha'avel pturin mechamas atzman chayavin. If they're coming because they want to show, if they're coming to the funeral because they want to show respect to the person, who's mourning or the person who died, so then they are, then they're patur. But if they're coming just because there was like a whole to do, they're like, oh, what's going on? They went to check it out and they're having a good time. So then they would be chayiv, because I guess they're not really considered oseg b'mitzvah, so they wouldn't be patur mitzvah. They would be chayiv, I guess, even if they could see even if they're on the inner row, I guess. Mistama, they're on the inner row, right? If they're there to have a good time and see what's going on, they want to get in on the action, get in front. Anyways, okay, now here we go. So here we begin this very, very interesting discussion about when can you, let's say, ignore or even violate a mitzvah d'oraisa in the interest of honoring somebody, of somebody else's respect. So Rav Yehuda Amarav says, Rav Yehuda Amarav, Hamotzi kilayim bevigdo, poshtan afilu b'shuk. Oh, if somebody finds that he has shatnez in his clothing, right? Somehow he notices that, oh gosh, my clothing is actually made up of wool and linen. He must take them off. He cannot continue to wear them. He must take them off, even if he's in public, even if he's in Shuk Machne Yehuda. He must take them off. Zeu. So even though it's embarrassing for him, but still, my time. How come? In Chachma ve'Tvuna ve'Netzel Leneged Hashem. The pasuk in Mishlei says that there is no wisdom, there is no understanding, and there's no advice that goes opposite God. Kol makom sheyesh chilul Hashem ein chok kavod l'rav. Right? In a place where there is chilul Hashem, such as God said, don't wear shatnez, and you're wearing shatnez, we need to end that as quick as possible, even if it means that there's going to be embarrassment to a person. Wow. Okay. So we don't worry about kavod habrios when it's in violation of a mitzvah. But meisvei, one second, really? Kavros hameis, we have a situation where a brayso says that if they're coming back from burying a dead person, a mace, v'chazru, and they're on their way back home, l'fneim beis drachim, and before them are two paths, achas tar v'achas tameh. One of them is tar and one of them is tameh. And guess what? Part of the funeral procession are kohanim. There are kohanim there, and kohanim are not allowed to become tameh. Now the avel is leading the way. He's, and he's going to be ultimately the one who's going to decide which, if they go on the Torah one or they go on the Tameh one. He's probably not paying attention much because he's got other things on his mind. Ba bat tahora, ban imo bat tahora, ba bat tameya, ban imo bat tameya. If he takes the Tahor path, so we can follow him on the Tahor path, and if he takes the Tameh path, then we follow him on the Tameh path. And even though basically you have Kohanim now that are going to become Tameh, and we know that Kohanim are not allowed to become Tameh, but we seem to say what? Mishum kavodo. Because of the kavod of the mourner, you're allowed to, a kohen's allowed to become tameh. Amai, why can it become tameh? Leimein chachma ve'Tvuna v'neged Hashem. We should say that there is no wisdom and no understanding, against God, and therefore, if God says don't become tameh, I don't care about, with all due respect to the mourner, his honor is not enough to violate a lo taseh of lo yitama, and that he can't become tameh. So Tirgma Rabbi Abba b'veis hapras derabanan. Oh, so Rabbi Abba says no. It's not talking about where the Kohen is 100% going to become tameh by going on this path. If that was the case, then he would not be allowed to, because you're 100% right that there's no logic that can go against what God said, which is don't become tameh. However, this is what's called a beis hapras. A beis hapras is a field that has a body buried in that field, but then somebody plowed the field. and now you're in a shtickle bind because you don't know where in the field this mace is. Now it's a big field. There's one mace. Chances are it's not where you're standing. But at the end of the day, we simply don't know because somebody plowed the field, and this mace can now be, these bones or whatever can now be anywhere, or even just a tiny bone the size of a barley kernel. That's a problem. If you step on it, you will become tameh. So that's what we're talking about. So even though mida oraisa, right, this field is not tameh, because I think the point is that you can assume that wherever you are, the mace is somewhere else, because most of the field is not where the mace is. However, midrabanan, they say that a kohen shouldn't go in there because it's tameh midrabanan. However, because of Rabbi Sapras derabanan, and therefore, because it's only derabanan, the same rabbis who said that this field is tameh and a kohen shouldn't go in it, they also said that we don't extend this to when it involves kavod habrios, and over here we want to give respect to the avel by escorting him. So therefore they would be allowed to go in there. The Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel menapeach adam beis hapras v'holech. In a beis hapras, even though it's tameh midrabanan, you can even just blow the dust out of the way and walk, meaning do a superficial check to make sure that there are no bones there, and if you don't see any bones, you could walk there, which would certainly not be allowed if it was at a status of tumah d'oraisa. And similarly, Rav Yehuda Bar Ashi said the name of Rav, that a beis hapras, that many people have already walked there, So, and you don't see it, so like the path has already been well established, and there's no bones over there. You can assume that the bones that were there were already kicked out of the way. They're not there anymore. So basically, in a beis hapras, which has a status of tumah d'Rabbanan, there's more reason to be mekil. And the same Rabbanan who said that don't go there, they also said that you're allowed to go there if it involves respecting somebody else. Very good. And that was a shot with this path, that there was somewhere, a mace was buried somewhere on this path, and we just don't know where. So that's what we're talking about. But if it was mamish tameh, he wouldn't be allowed to go even for kavod habrios. Tashma, come here. Amar Rabbi Elazar bar Tzadok. Said Rabbi Elazar bar Tzadok. Now Rabbi Elazar bar Tzadok was a kohen, right? There's a Gemara in Bechoros apparently that says that. Okay, and he says, Rabbi Elazar bar Tzadok said, Medalgan ayinu al gabi aronos shel mesim because malchei Yisrael. We used to hop from one gravestone to the next gravestone in order to greet Jewish kings. And he was a Kohen. He was jumping from one gravestone to the next. Huh? That sounds like problematic. I thought he's not allowed to become tameh. And check this out. It wasn't only just to go and greet Jewish kings. Right? As we saw in Daf Tesam Beis, right? This concept of we would even run to see non-Jewish kings. Shemizke said, if a person merits to sort of get to the times of Mashiach, Yavchin beMalchi Yisrael leMalchi Umas Ha'olam, he'll be able to associate the to show the relative differences between the kings of Israel and the non-Jewish kings, and they will be able to see how much greater the kings of Israel are. Okay, great. So we say that they would jump from gravestone to gravestone. So like, what is shot? They're basically becoming tameh in order to see a king. I mean, kings are great and everything, but is respecting a king a reason for a kohen to become tameh? Amai, why? What about the fact that we say that there is no wisdom, understanding, or advice opposite God? And if God said, don't become tameh, I don't care that you're going to respect the king. So the Gemara answer is no, that's also not really a good proof, because Kidei Rava, we're just going to explain it like Rava. This is very interesting. Tamarava Dvar Torah, Oel Kol Sheyesh Bo Chalal Tefach Chotzet B'fnei Hatuma, V'she'en Bo Chalal Tefach, Eino Chotzet B'fnei Hatuma, V'rav Aronos Yesh Be'en Chalal Tefach, V'gazu Al Sheyesh Be'en, Mishum She'en Be'en, Mishum Kavod Malachim Lo Gazu B'hu Rabbanan. Okay, what that means is that basically, when you bury a dead body, okay, so the dead body is tameh, and the tuma then goes straight up to the sky, mamish. And there's actually even a shayla, I think, about an airplane. Like, if you're flying over an airplane over like a cemetery, so that tuma is going to go right up into the airplane. Anyways, but the thing is, if there is so let's say you bury a dead person in a coffin, let's say, and in that coffin there's a space of a tefach between the dead person and the top of the coffin, right? So that space of a tefach will actually prevent the tuma from then going outside of that coffin, okay? So what we're saying, and most people, when they're buried in such a manner that there actually is a tefach of space. And I think in Israel they do this. I think in Israel they do this. But anyways, so they're buried in such a manner that there is a tefach of space between the body and, I guess, whatever is on top of it, so that the tumah then won't go above whatever is on top of them. So, and most people are buried in that manner, right? But the Chacham said that even though most people are buried in that manner, so therefore, jumping on their gravestone would be okay, because the tumah isn't going up, because the space is stopping it. But however, the Chacham said that even though most people are buried in such a manner that the tumah wouldn't go up, because there are some people who aren't, the Chacham said we don't want Kohanim jumping from gravestone to gravestone, because out of concern of the Mesim who are buried without that tefach. However, again, since it's only Gzeira D'Rabbanan, they said, if it's for respecting kings, then you would be allowed to jump over these graves, and you can rely on the rove, on the majority, who are buried with this space, and they would not, the tumah wouldn't make these Kohanim tamei. Very interesting. Tashma, comment here. Okay, listen to this. How great is respecting other people that it actually pushes off a mitzvah's lo ta'aseh in the Torah. It means that there's a mitzvah in the Torah that says don't do X, and you're allowed to do X if it comes to honoring somebody else. All right, okay, this is already getting interesting, because then maybe then you could push off shatnez if it has to do with not walking home in Yagatgis from the Shuk Machne Yehuda. Ve'amai, why do we say that kavod habrios is docha elosais in the Torah? Ein chachma ve'en tuvuna ve'en etzla neged Hashem. Right? Lema ein chachma ve'en tuvuna ve'en etzla neged Hashem. Why don't we invoke the pasuk of there's nothing that goes against God? And if God says don't do whatever this mitzvah lo saseh is, well then I don't care that there's respect for somebody else. Don't do it. So Tigma Rav Bar Shiva Kamid Rav Kana Bilav lo saser. So Rav Bar Shiva, if you remember Rav Bar Shiva from a few pages ago, he was the person that tried to interrupt, that visited Ravina, and he was saying Halal, and didn't interrupt him because he wasn't chashuv enough on Ravina for Ravina to interrupt his Halal, even though it wasn't a chiyuv to eat Halal that day. So it comes of Rav Bar Shiva, and he says it's talking about the mitzvahs lo ta'aseh of lo tasur. The pasuk says lo tasur min hadavar sheyagidu lecha yamin usmol. That this is the pasuk when we learn out that we have to listen to what the Rabbanan say, what the rabbis say. The rabbis say, to do something, you have to do it. You can't violate it. So Rav Bar Shiva says, when we say that you're allowed to, that kavod habrios is docha lo ta'aseh, it's this lo ta'aseh which says that you have to listen to the chachamim, right? And you don't have to listen to the chachamim if it has to do with kavod habrios. Now achichu aleh, and his friends over there laughed at him. Lav de lo tasur de oraisahi. The lav of don't violate, don't stray from what the rabbis say is a mitzvah de oraisa. You can't just violate a mitzvah de oraisa for kavod habrios, even if that mitzvah is de oraisa, is just to say listen to the chachamim. So Amar Rav Kahana kavarabba Amar Milsa lo sachichu aleh. Rav Kahana stepped in and he says, hey, a great man just said something. Do not make fun of him. Do not laugh at him. Rav Bar Shiva is right. Every single Gezerah D'Rabbanan, basically every single Gezerah D'Rabbanan relies on lo tasur, right? Therefore, if the Chacham say something, there's actually a mitzvah d'oraisa to listen to what they said. However, everything that they did say, they did not say in the context of kavod habrios, right? And therefore, Rav Bar Shiva is right that this lav of do not stray from the Chachamim actually doesn't apply. Lemaisa it doesn't apply when it comes to kavod habrios, because any Gezeres Chachamim they didn't extend to where it affects honoring somebody else. And if it has to do with honoring somebody else, so you would put aside this Gezerah D'Rabbanan and favor the honor of the other person. Okay, Tashma, come in here. V'salam mehem. Oh, pam shatam salim mehem, ufam she'enatam salim mehem. Oh, so this is talking about hashavas aveda. When it comes to hashavas aveda, so there's a chiyuv that if you find something that belongs to somebody else, you have to return it to them. However, the pasuk says v'salam mehem, that you will hide from them. You will turn a blind eye as if you didn't see it. Right? You see some guy's iPhone somewhere, and it's like, oh, I should really return that, but it's too much of a headache. So there are times. So generally speaking, you can't turn a blind eye. You have to actually take the iPhone and find who it belongs to and return it. Now, there are times that you actually are allowed to pretend that you didn't see it and go on with your life. When is that? Haketzad, what is that? Imaya Kohen v'hi bebeis hakvaros. If the person who noticed it was a Kohen and the lost object was in a cemetery, so then a Kohen is not allowed to go into a cemetery in order to retrieve this lost object. So he's allowed to pretend like he didn't see it. Okay? Or right? Or if he was an elder and it's not his kvodo. Let's say he finds, I don't know, episode People magazine on the floor. And so, you could, I guess, see the name on it and see who to return it to, but it's not a fikvodo issue. They should be running around town with the People magazine. So he could pretend that he didn't see it. This is an interesting one. Or that he's a fancy lawyer and he charges by the hour. He charges $1,000 an hour for his very useful services. And the iPhone was I don't know, maybe an older model was $950. So the hour that it's going to take him to return it, he's actually going to make more money if he goes to work than busy returning it. And now, interestingly, if the guy now comes to pick up his iPhone and the lawyer now gives him a bill for $1,000 because says, look, this was billable time, so the guy's going to say, you know what, keep the iPhone. I'm going to pay you more than the thing is even worth. So therefore, in the event where it, the amount of time that you'd be losing out in order to retrieve the object is more than the object itself, that the person wouldn't be willing to even pay you for your time. So then you could pretend that you didn't see it as well. But if you charge, let's say, I don't know, maybe $25 an hour for what you do, and therefore, you can say to him, look, I'd appreciate if you would pay me $75. Because this is money that I lost out on. So the person will be happy to pay you the $75 because he nets $875 in the deal. So in that case, you would have to. In that case, if your time is worth more than the entire cost of the thing, so then you're allowed to pretend that you didn't see it. Okay, fine, very good. So l'chach ne'amar v'salamta. That's why it says v'salamta, and you will hide. To say that there are times that you are allowed to actually pretend you didn't see it. But Amai, why are you allowed to pretend that you didn't see it? Right? Say that, if Hashem says to return the object, I don't care that your time was worth more than the object. You still have to return it. So the Gemara says, yeah, but the mitzvah itself is baked into it. It says in the Torah, it says that part of the mitzvah as a Shabbos Aveda is that there are times when you're going to be potter. Okay, fine. So why don't we make a binyan av? Right? It's very common in when in Gemara when learning you compare things that are similar, right? And say that just like Hashavas Aveda, there are times when you don't have to do it. So then say also that by shatnez, back in our case, if you find that you're wearing shatnez and you're in Shuk Machne Yehuda, so there are times when you don't have to take off your clothing in the middle of the market. So the Gemara says, Isur mimamona lo yafinon. No, we can't do that because mammon is more makil than isurim. It's more lenient than isurim. Therefore, if it comes to returning a lost object, which is financial, it's money related. So there we could say that they're more willing to say it's cool that there are times that you could not do it, right? But to apply that, and obviously it's because the pasuk says that. But to then, say that now we can extend this automatically to something like shatnez, where it says you're not allowed to wear shatnez. We can't extend it and say you are, if you're in Shuk Machne Yehuda. Fine. Okay, Tashma. V'lachoso mata mudomar. Oh, so this is a pasuk in the context of a nazir. A nazir is somebody who has taken a vow that he's not going to drink wine, he's not going to cut his hair, and also he is part of that is he cannot become tameh to a relative who dies. Now, the pasuk says al kol nafshos meis lo yavo, I think. Right, and then it says la'aviv ulimo la'achivu la'achoto. Basically, right, you can't become tameh to anybody. And then the next pasuk says he can't become tameh to his father, can't become tameh to his mother, not to his brother, not to his sister. So the question is, why does it have to specify? We already said he can't become tameh to anybody. Doesn't that include these people? So the Gemara then says, well, the answer there is, I think in the Medrash Halacha on Sefer, was it Bamidbar? So Sifrei, I think. Anyways, we say over there that. Why does it say father? To say that, to his father he can't become tameh, but if there's a meis mitzvah means that if you're kind of just walking on the road and you see a dead body there, nobody else is burying it, so you have to go and bury it. So we're saying that he doesn't become tameh to his father, but if he sees a meis mitzvah, he becomes tameh to the meis mitzvah. And then we see to his mother. Why does it say his mother? If he's a kohen and he's a nazir, so then and he sees a meis mitzvah, so still he he becomes tamei to bury the meis mitzvah. And then why does it say le'achiv, to his brother, if he's a kohen gadol and he's a nazir? So then also to his brother he doesn't become tamei, but he does become tamei to meis mitzvah. The question is, why does it say la'achoso? What do we learn from there? And we learn out something completely different from la'achoso. What we learn out from la'achoso is just a regular Joe, a regular dude, right? And it says that, right? Tashma la'achoso matamulom. How come it says achoso by a nazir and not becoming tamei? So right? You have a regular dude. He was going. He's on his way to Yerushalayim to bring his korban pesach and to do bris milah for his son. Okay, fine. V'shama shemeis lo meis, and he heard that somebody died. So yachol yachzor v'yitama, amart lo yitama. Oh, so he found out that a relative died. Should he go back and become tamei to deal with the burial of this relative? Now, of course, somebody who's tamei can't bring the korban pesach. So by going back and being mitame and burying his relative, he's now going to be mevatel doing the korban pesach. So the Gemara says, Amar lo yitama. But it says no, lo yitama. He cannot become tamei. Right? Fine. But what if he's going to shech his korban pesach and he's going to do bris milah for his son, and he actually sees a meis mitzvah? Now, of course, if he deals with burying of the meis mitzvah, so then he's not going to be able to do the korban pesach. What do we say in this case? So tamuloma v'la'achoso. V'la'achoso de'enu mitame, avam mitame l'meis mitzvah. That we say by nazir la'achoso. Now, what we learn out from la'achoso, even though it's in the context of nazir, we learn out in a completely different context, which is this context. Just a regular person going to shech his korban pesach, do bris milah for his son. So we say that if it was his sister who died, a relative who died, so then he wouldn't become tamei, as we said, for them. However, he would become tamei for a meis mitzvah. That if you see somebody dead, you find them and nobody else is burying them, you should bury them, and that's kavod habrios, right? You're burying this person, nobody else is going to bury them. That's showing respect to God's creations, right? And we're seeing that kavod habrios is overriding, so to speak, a mitzvah in the Torah, which is the mitzvah of korban pesach. And I guess also bris milah, but I think more so korban pesach, because by becoming tamei to this person, you mamish can't bring the korban pesach anymore, right? So we see, amai, why? Shouldn't we say, no, you have to do the korban pesach? I don't care that it's kavod habrios to bury this person, but you have to do the korban pesach. So shiny hasam dichsiv v'lachoso. So the Gemara says, yeah, you can't really ask that question because the pasuk itself says that you should become tamei to the meis mitzvah, because it says lachoso. Don't become tamei to your sister in this context, but do become tamei to a meis mitzvah. So then the Gemara says, okay, fine, v'ligmar mina. So then why don't we say that just like by korban pesach, kavod habrios is a reason to not bring your korban pesach. So let's say that by shatnez, kavod habrios, having to take off my clothing and shuk machne Yehuda, is a reason not to to be able to continue wearing my shatnez at least until I get home. So the Gemara answers, sheval taisa shani. Oh, there's an inherent difference between not bringing your korban pesach and violating shatnez. Right, sheval taisa means sitting there and doing nothing is different, right? For because of kavod habrios and becoming burying this meis mitzvah, so ultimately it means that you're gonna have to sit by and do nothing while everybody's bringing their korban pesach. Okay, you're not doing anything wrong. You're not bringing a korban pesach. After all, you're tamei, and therefore you can't bring your korban pesach. But you're not doing anything wrong. It's just unfortunate that you can't bring your korban pesach. We say the same thing by lulav on Shabbos when it's Sukkot. We say the same thing by shofar on Rosh Hashanah when it's on Shabbos, right? You don't blow shofar on Rosh Hashanah, that's on Shabbos. You don't bring your lulav to shul on Sukkot when it's Shabbos. What about the chiyuv of blowing shofar on Rosh Hashanah and waving the lulav on Sukkot? So we say, look, the Chacham said that we're concerned that people are going to carry the lulav or the shofar on Shabbos. So we say, look, just, we're not telling you to do anything wrong. We're just telling you not to do the thing because we have other concerns. So here also, we're saying don't do the korban pesach because we're concerned, because kavod habrios is something that we want you to do. But you wouldn't be able to then apply that to shatnez where we don't have the right to be able to say, violate a mitzvah slosa, say of lo tulbas shatnez, of don't wear linen and silk, linen and wool together. We can't tell you to do that because of kavod habrios. And therefore, therefore, Sheva al Taisa Shani, right? It's okay for us to say we have concerns, and because of these concerns, don't do something, but we can't tell you to violate a mitzvah, in the interest of Kavod Habrios. All right, shkoyach everybody. Awesome. Peace out.